the last time I saw so many saltires I was at Hampden and it wasn't really such a good day. My name is Ruth, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not a politician. I don't belong to any political party. I'm here because I think this truly is a pivotal moment for our nation, and I don't want us to lose this historic opportunity to vote for a better future for our country, for our children. And I'm here, I suppose, because I'm tired of a debate full of petty point scoring. I'm here because I want to get beyond this kind of tribal loyalties and look at the referendum instead in terms of the bigger picture. I joined the Yes for Scotland campaign because I asked Scots of every persuasion to raise their eyes to that bigger picture. Because this is not about yesterday's battles anymore, ladies and gentlemen. It's not about yesterday's feuds. And it's not even about voting in a government of any particular colour. We're voting yes in 2 years' time for one overriding reason, because we've got a golden chance to fashion a new agenda and protect the values of a nation reborn as a state. Please, ladies and gentlemen, don't let anybody tell you that if we ignore this poll, there'll be another couple along in a moment. Because we fell for that nonsense in 1979. We were told that in 1979. But what happened, in fact, was that people who didn't vote were counted as a no vote. We were told that we'd secure a better deal in that case from London politicians, and just as well is it not that nobody was holding their breath. Now, October 2014 is probably the only time in every person's life standing here that will be able to determine Scotland's long-term future. It happens that I believe devolution was a necessary process because it allowed us to reclaim our Parliament after a timeout of some 300 years. But what devolution's also done, ladies and gentlemen, is it's brought into very sharp focus the different ways, the different directions our countries have gone in since then. We've seen what's happened to the health service in England, as we've heard already today, now on the road to privatisation. We've seen what's happened to education with fragmentation and with curriculum meddling on a daily basis from a minister who said it was time for the state to butt out. But health and education are things where we can do something in Scotland, where we can hold the line. But we can do absolutely nothing about the swingeing cuts in welfare, masquerading as an essential reform, but targeting the folks that can't fight back. Because the tax and benefit system are also fixed in London. When a government announces in advance of any testing, any fit-for-work testing, that they're going to take 20 billion out of the welfare budget, then, ladies and gentlemen, the agenda is pretty clear. When your employment reforms are about how quickly you can sack people, then the agenda is pretty clear. When you cut the top rate of tax, and you encourage a minister to fly a kite about abolishing capital gains tax, then the agenda is pretty clear. It's a bit hard for all of us to stomach people who spend more on devising tax avoidance schemes than most of us will earn in a dozen years. It's a bit much when they are telling us we're scroungers. You know, there are literally thousands of people engaged in trying to find out who might have creamed off an extra fiver from their weekly benefits, but there's just a handful charged with trying to find the billions that have been siphoned off offshore or hidden elsewhere in Scotland. Non-doms, London stiff with foreign billionaires who avoid paying their way because their stately pile or their Mayfair mansion is not designated their primary residence. And why should it be? They've got another 4 somewhere else. Not even to mention the yacht. But the tax and the benefit system is operated from London. And quickly let me mention defence, because I live in that Bermuda Triangle between Faslane and Coolport, and I don't see whales out of my kitchen window, I see Trident submarines. Exactly, thank you. And And like 80% of Scots, I don't believe that we should be housing these weapons of mass destruction.
No way! Yes.
And let's not forget, it's been mentioned this afternoon a number of times, foreign affairs, the shame of the invasion of Iraq and the continuing nightmare that's Afghanistan, but foreign policy is determined in London. Now, all my adult life, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, I'm chronologically gifted, and all my adult life, the cry has gone up about whinging jobs, people who get more than their fair share of public spending, people who get huge perks denied the rest of the UK. It's not true, but it's certainly a fine way to make your friends and neighbours suspicious. Well, the surefire way to stop that is to raise our own taxes and spend them as we see fit, depending on the budget we have to hand. If we do that, ladies and gentlemen, that will stop our friends and neighbours believing we're cheating them. And when all these things are determined by people living and working in Scotland, it will finally lay to rest the West Lothian question. We'll no longer have ladies, we may well have ladies, but we'll no longer have Scottish MPs voting through measures on English citizens which do not apply in their own backyard. That is outrageous, and independence will solve that. I'd like to explore, because people have suggested quite often to me that those who favour the Scottish nation once again becoming a fully functioning state must be anti-English or just plain provoking. I find that idea truly offensive.
Very offensive.
As those who would have us vote no never tire of reminding us we've got very close ties with our nearest neighbours, ties that include family and friends. Of course we do. And how much easier it's going to be to nourish these friendships when the cross-border tensions are removed. When we're two nations with much in common, but two nations whose particular philosophies and vision are shaped by their different heritage. I can't promise any more than Andy Murray did to shout for the English football team. But I can promise to love my neighbour. And it's for all these reasons that I'm going to vote yes in 2015. Seems to think that a scare a day will keep independence at bay. But trust me, ladies and gentlemen, a confident future is never built on fear, always on hope.
Yes!
So let's give our children, let's give our grandchildren that hope. Let's give them a country to be proud of, and let's make that yes a loud one. Thank you.
Yeah!